What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Eric's House. This is Eric, and today we're talking Sinners, the new Ryan Coogler movie starring Michael B. Jordan. This film is set in the 1930s, and it is a vampire movie. And I saw it was getting tremendous reviews. Audiences loved it. Critics loved it. But that doesn't mean I'm necessarily going to love it, because there have been examples this year of movies that were just highly praised, hard eyes, that I went in and I was like, what is this trash? And so I was a little concerned, especially when I heard that Michael B. Jordan was going to be doing dual roles. Now, I've liked some of the dual role movies this year. Most of them I haven't been too crazy about, but it's just becoming a trend now. And I'm thinking, like, what's going on with this dual role thing? That's the fourth one this year, fifth actor to do it, because two of them did it in The Monkey. We had Mickey 17. We had, of course, Alto Nights with Robert De Niro. So we're not even halfway through the year, and like, what's going on with the dual roles? Fortunately, they did a really good job. Michael B. Jordan was absolutely phenomenal. The twins, Smoke and Stack, shared a lot of scenes together, and I kind of just forgot that Michael B. Jordan was playing both roles. It was so well done, although the only thing I can say is that the personalities of the twins, of Smoke and Stack, were a little closer matched than the personalities of the characters in the other movies I mentioned. So there are moments in this movie where I'm trying to figure out who's who. Like, is that Smoke or is that Stack? Which one? Trying to figure it out on first watch. Now you watch it again or 2, 3 more times, and it'll become pretty clear who's who and all that. And their personalities are different. It's just that on first watch, trying to take everything in and trying to figure everything out, what's going on and who's who, it got a little confusing. That said, Michael B. Jordan was great. The cinematography was off the charts. It was just amazing. The scenery there in the 1930s, for the most part, was on point. The behavior of everyone on point. There might be a line here or there where I thought, man, that sounds a little, I don't think anyone in the 30s would say that, or that expression. Did that exist in the 30s? Well, maybe it did. I don't know, but it sounds a little modern. But those are total nitpicks when thinking about the overall quality of the movie. It starts out very grounded, very serious. It is taking place, like I said, 1930s. You have Smoke and Stack, and they are hanging out with this young guitar player, and he's their cousin, and his name is Sammy, and he plays guitar, and he's a really good blues guitar player, very skilled. I kind of saw Robert Johnson when I saw him, if you are a guitar player or a musician or you know about Robert Johnson. So they buy a sawmill from an older white man who might just be a little bit racist. You kind of see signs of that early in the movie. They want to open a juke joint, and that's what the movie's about. Opening night's coming up. The juke joint is going to be opening up, and they go grab their cousin, and this is the setup of the movie. Like, it's all straight, right? It's like, okay, there's some racism going by. These two guys, these two twins, left Chicago. They have some heavy influence there. They're kind of feared. They have some mafia connections. I'm not really sure, but I know the movie is really interesting, right? But grounded. An interesting story. Well set. The music is amazing. Everything is great. If I didn't know it was a vampire movie, I would have just been completely enthralled in this story right here that they were telling, wondering where it was going to go. That said, if you're expecting a crazy vampire movie right from the get-go, it takes some time. So it might feel a little bit slow based on your expectations. Like, if you're going in for a grounded 1930s story about racism and about a couple of black twins moving from Chicago, going to recruit their cousin, try to start a juke joint, and deal with everything that comes with, and try to be successful there, try to start a good business there, and all that's in here. And some ex-girlfriends thrown into the mix, and a lot of other characters that are really interesting. You have an interesting film. Now, it's nothing that blew me away or anything, but I was definitely interested in this story. But meanwhile, we're seeing little signs of some supernatural shit going on nearby, and that's where the vampire story is going to intermingle with this super interesting story about opening the juke joint and everything. And when that happens, I'm not gonna get any details. When that goes down, the movie goes to a level I can't reach with my hand. I mean, it just goes off the rails. It reminds me a lot, of course, and I think this movie will get comparisons to From Dusk Till Dawn. When I first watched From Dusk Till Dawn back in the day, I didn't know it was a vampire movie. I thought it was a crime movie. Tarantino, George Clooney. There are a couple of criminals. George Clooney's a thief. His brother's supposed to be a thief, except for he's got some sick sexual deviancy, which gets in the way of what they're trying to accomplish along the way. And they're heading to Mexico, going to the bar, crazy situation, fights are breaking out. It's just like, dude, this movie's awesome. And then, boom! The movie goes, like I just said in this movie, same thing. It goes to a wild and insane level on a dime. This movie prepares it a little more, which I like. I like the little signs. Now, I like that for that movie, for Dusk Till Dawn. It works for the way they did it. But the way they did it here works for this movie. But it's still, when it happens, it happens. And the way they use music in this movie, how even the vampires are all musicians, they're playing their instruments and everything, it is just wild, but it's also scary. It's also actually unnerving and freaky. I mean, it's done so freaking well. There are moments here, I'm like, hands on the face. When the hands go on the face, you know this freaking movie is working. But it doesn't abandon some other storylines that happened earlier as far as buying that property that I mentioned from that older white man. In other words, just the non-vampire story is not completely abandoned. We still follow along with, there's an actual movie in here, even if you take away all the vampire stuff. But when you throw that stuff in, it gives it an extra kick. It takes it to an extra gear, and it makes it all the more entertaining, all the more wild, and all the more fun. And even when the movie seems like it's over, it ain't over. It has an incredible kind of mid-credit scene that it's not even like a mid-credit scene or a post-credit scene like it typically would be, like a little bonus. It's part of the movie. It's a must-watch. It wraps a lot of things up and answers some more questions, and it's an absolute must-watch. So don't leave the first time you see directed by or whatever, the first post-credit, because it's doesn't take too long before we get that mid-credit scene, which is absolutely vital and very long. Overall, the film was just a super entertaining watch. No dumb comedy, and I did get a couple of laughs. But there wasn't like the writers or whatever, the director or anyone was like, okay, we need a joke here. Let's write a joke. It wasn't like that. It was just something that happened that would naturally happen, but it had a comic effect, and other people would laugh too. Nobody was acting out of character. Nobody was doing anything dumb to try to get a laugh. There wasn't like intentional jokes sprinkled throughout, because it's not a comedy, but there were a couple of moments of levity. But the music is extraordinary. I'm a musician myself, so loved listening to the music in this movie. I only have a couple of little nitpicks. There was a scene where they decided to get creative. It was in 1930s in the club, and when the club was opening, and the guy was playing guitar, and I was really feeling the vibe and everything. And they decided to do something creative and mix in all kinds of modern music. And there's a guy with an electric guitar suddenly, and it just threw me out. It was cool, I guess, in a way, but I was just into the story, and I just didn't want to get sucked out of the story with some crazy whatever that was. I mean, of course, there was a purpose. I get it, but it was a little distracting to me. I would have just preferred stick with the main story. Let's stick with the 1930s. Let's stick with what's going on there. But that's just me. And like I said, a little confused on the storyline at times on who's who and what's going on. And it was a little bit slow, I guess. It's just managing expectations. If you're looking for a crazy vampire movie, you're probably going to be, an hour in. You're going to be like, well, what's going on here? What's up with the vampire movie? So, just manage your expectations. It is a little slow before shit kicks off. But when shit kicks off, damn. But I actually enjoyed the whole thing. Personally, I thought the build-up was very nice, and it had awesome payoffs at the end. And I'm not going to spoil anything. I mean, that's it. I mean, this is an absolutely fantastic vampire movie. Definitely one I would love to own in my collection. Not one that I probably watch all the time. Like, I don't watch Dusk Till Dawn every year. Maybe every 2-3 years I watch Dusk Till Dawn. But I love that movie, and this one, about just as good. And I would say both of them are dang borderline masterpieces. I will say 9.5 out of 10. I'm going to say this one is masterpiece level. The way they combine music with a really interesting story, and then the way they executed those vampire scenes, I don't think I've seen it done much better. So I have to give this movie the highest honor I can here as far as my rating system goes. But let me know what you guys think. I mean, maybe I'm off on that. Everyone seems to be loving it, and I loved it as well. So, I'm a little burned out on the dual roles. Can we slow down with the dual roles? But this movie was fantastic. Let me know your thoughts in that comment section down below. Hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and we will talk to you in the next one.